Hey, we'll do this again tomorrow. Thank you for watching on SportsGrid and YouTube.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Can USA overtake Canada and get that gold, Joe?
Absolutely, they can here. And ultimately, it feels like that is the two-horse race. And I think ultimately, Canadians don't really care if their team competes in the luge or the bobsled, Donnie, or anything else. They just want that gold when it comes to ice hockey. And that is the only thing that's going to matter there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They cheated.
No, they're not saying
Right?
that. Well, they're not, but they're not really giving a reason on Kraft.
The only two of the voters I've seen, maybe it's more, came out and said why they didn't vote for him. And they said, I'm limited to 3 votes.
Yeah.
And I will always pick a player over a coach or an owner.
Right.
By the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy saying, I'm not afraid of you knowing who I picked. I'm going to tell you why I picked him.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
But I will say, at 4.5 and over, I've been with covers for 20 plus years now. I've been betting for a long time. When it comes to 4 and 4.5 point spreads, if I'm looking at the favorite, I do not lay the points. I go straight to the money line, knowing that it's minus 200. This has been a no man's land for football betting in the NFL, basically since 2015, since they moved the point after touchdown back.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live on SportsGrid. It's great to have you with us on this Thursday night. Kevin Walsh live from the Decisions desk. It is not the biggest card we have ever seen, but I think it occasionally can bring out the best in us as we try and look for value on a slate like this. I will start, though, in a place I wasn't necessarily intending on beginning. I know that we just got underway at Pebble Beach, not just underway, but today was the opening round of this tournament. And I knew Scotty didn't have a good start. Went to the live board, scrolling. Usually don't need to scroll again. Scrolling. Scotty Scheffler is closer to dead last than he is the top 20. He, at the moment, is 1 over with 2 to play. But more important than any of that is Scotty Scheffler is 30-1 to win this tournament. It's just not a number you see on Scotty Scheffler. It isn't. I'm curious to see what he finishes over these last 2 holes. I was watching some of the tournament earlier today. Look, it is what it is. I'm a golf guy now. I don't really know what to tell you. Pebble Beach and Spyglass are the 2 courses that get played. Pebble was playing easy, but Spyglass is the easier of the 2. So let's just say tomorrow has bad winds, bad weather conditions. That's going to impact those playing on Pebble. Point is, was Scotty playing on Pebble or Spyglass today? That's relevant to the chase. The favorite right now is Chris Gotterup, who's 8 under, who might just be the new Scotty Scheffler. Scotty just went to 40 live. This is wild. Let's get a look here. Mr. Top 10, Scotty Scheffler for a top 10 is plus 320. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's a number. Scotty is plus money for a top 20. Never in my days. A day into the tournament, a day into the tournament. I don't believe there's any cut at a signature event. So, pretty sure that means you're going to have to keep Scotty down for 3 more days. I don't know. Doesn't really sound easy, considering Scotty got off to a terrible start in Phoenix and finished T3. A shot, one shot off the lead. We will talk to Kyle Soppe a little bit later on, who I know is into the golf. I'm interested to get his thoughts. Maybe I will have some of our producers reach out to some of our golf guys and just kind of see if they can, give us some insight and we can kind of deliver those messages to you, because while we are equipped to look at these numbers and be like, oh my goodness, they'll have a better idea of, do you strike or not? 40-1 on Scotty Scheffler on Thursday? Yeah. I think that's the place to start. I think we made the right decision there. What will people be looking to bet today? I think there are some people who have probably finished up the beef of their card, their biggest interest, which could be the men's Olympic ice hockey. Canada played earlier today. They win 5-0. U.S., with a slow start against Latvia, ultimately win 5-1. Brock Nelson had to settle for 2 goals. Could have not only had a hat trick, maybe could have had 5 goals ultimately in that game. Jack Eichel with multiple points. Jack Hughes with 3 points. Austin Matthews, who was the chalkiest goal scorer, did end up making do. You might look to the NBA on its final night before All-Star Weekend officially begins. And if you look to the NBA and you're disappointed in what you get back, I don't blame you. I do not blame you. We are at the point in the NBA calendar where there are a lot of conversations going on about who's playing, who's not, who's trying to win, who is not. And I don't want to be dramatic to say we are at an impasse, but it feels like it is becoming necessary to maybe sit down and reassess things going on at the NBA level. You guys know I am an NBA guy. I think there are, and I'll just be honest, I think there are a lot of people who say a lot about the NBA who do not like the NBA. They might bet it, they certainly don't watch it, and they actively dislike it. And they're happy with that third one. Like, their preference is to dislike the NBA. That's not me. But when you have a team like the Utah Jazz resting starters tonight on the second leg of a back-to-back, sure. Not playing your best players in close fourth quarters. Now, in February? No. Jaren Jackson Jr. shut down today. Going to get surgery on his knee. Now, ultimately, you don't get surgery for the heck of it, so it's probably better that it happened. Was it required? Obviously not. Was it predictable? As the sun rising. When you have an all-star game that myself and some producers have had spirited, fun conversations around betting it, Team USA versus the world, and realized that we had wasted our breath because we didn't know the format, because it's not a game, it's a round-robin tournament, that's bad. That's a mess. When you have a sport right now that deals with so many of your top guys not being healthy, which is what it is. Everyone wants to, point towards load management We can have those debates. There's also a lot of guys that aren't healthy. It's like, oh, this Team World stuff's going to be great. By the way, Luka's hurt. Shea's hurt. Giannis is hurt. Jokic, why is he playing? Might as well be hurt. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Might be, oh, too many threes. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Oh, can you believe there's games on Peacock and Prime? Same with the NFL, except they also have Netflix and 14 other places and Red Zone. Are you nuts? I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I care about February egregious tank jobs. I care about none of the best players are available. I care about a league who knows more likely than not key guys don't play back-to-backs. And they just keep shoving back-to-backs on the menu. I care about a league that can't get healthy. It's a mess. So, what do I like in the NBA slate? Who cares? Let's be honest. Lakers, Mavericks, no Luka. Who cares? Thunder, Bucks, no Giannis. Who cares? Jazz, Blazers. Who cares? But I'm a man of the people. We're not going to give you nothing. So we're betting the Vermont team total over against Binghamton. The boys in the back love a slate like this. So we're going to get involved. Just not with that NBA junk that they're throwing us tonight. We'll be right back live on Game Time Decisions.
Dallas Cowboys, like, they're competitive every year. They're going to win a Super Bowl? No, but at least at the beginning of the season, like, I have aspirations to make a playoff, maybe win the division and see what we can do. For the Raiders, every day, the minute you kick off week number 1, you are out of the playoff picture. You stink and can't perform. That's tough because you don't get a 20-year career as a defensive end typically in the NFL. So your time now is to strike. I have all the money. Now I want to win.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever, right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions. We're here on SportsGrid on a Thursday night. The best action, look, I think the most bet-on game tonight is going to be it's going to likely be the Laker game, and it's reflected in our best bets. Listen, again, I'm right now a little bit annoyed. It is what it is. But look, some good looks here from the fellas. AJ's going to lay the 7 with LA. Yarnell with a double-double for LeBron. LeBron's been on a bit of a double-double heater. Interested to see what it looks like without DeAndre Ayton. Maybe the triple-double becomes in play with no big man out there. We saw LeBron flirt with one of those against Golden State, chipped in 7 boards with the 10 assists. I would lean under in the game at 235.5. It's on its way up, so I may actually end up playing the under after all my anger at the beginning of the show. Chris has got a JMU Murray State money line, little 1-2 step there. I feel like Yarnell has to be involved with that. You got to respect the Dukes game. I was taking a look at that game. Couldn't get involved. I played a Denver team total over the 79.5. This is a team that averages over 90 a game when they win. They're one of the highest scoring offenses in the country, and they're playing really good ball. They just beat North Dakota State, who's the best team in that conference, and they followed it up by demolishing North Dakota. I like what I'm seeing here. They play up and down regardless, win or lose, but especially if they win, I think it's a good spot to play Denver. We've got some other picks on the college board that we will be able to get to in just a little bit. But I want to bring Craig Mission on this Thursday night. Craig, of course, hosting Newswire here on SportsGrid, does an excellent job doing so. And Craig, Major League Baseball in the news a little bit more, of course, as the NFL, says its goodbyes. But in the news for some odd reasons. One of these, it says, oh, he's got this injury, and I don't even know what it is. Just kind of this slew of, young Corbin Carroll, Lindor, Holiday. Is anything correlated? What's going on here?
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, I think it's just bad luck. I really don't see it as anything else here. It reminds me in years past of, and you probably remember this if you just sort of, think about it, close your eyes and remember. There was one year where there was like 6 guys opening up camp with an oblique injury, and then there was this big, okay, what's going on? Why is there oblique injuries, etc. So I don't think it's anything more than that, honestly, Kevin. I don't see it. Okay. I just think it's a cluster of bad luck with those 3 guys.
Well, listen, I think that's great. I feel like maybe I'm wrong here, but like the foot, hand, and mouth disease became a thing for like a month and a half period.
I think it was Noah Syndergaard, I think.
Yes, but then I feel like there was I feel like Noah Syndergaard's the first person I ever heard get it. And then there was like a couple others after that. And then you don't really hear much about it. I feel like Baker Mayfield might have got it. Nevertheless, the thing with baseball, Craig, that's going to really kind of propel us into that regular season is the World Baseball Classic. And what have you been hearing just around this tournament, the excitement, the buy-in of it all?
I think that this has a chance, Kevin, the championship game and the lead up to be more popular than the Super Bowl. That's going to sound crazy. I think it's going to be, if we get the right matchups, if we get USA, Japan, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, I do think that this is going to take on a life of its own. I just remember going to those games the last time that it was in Miami and going to the semifinals and seeing USA beat Venezuela, come back to win, seeing Trout, Ohtani head-to-head. I think we're headed for the same thing. I think that it's going to be the biggest baseball event of the season. I think it's going to be bigger than the World Series. I don't even have to think that. I know that. It's going to be more watched and more. There'll be more interest around it. And Kevin, the reason why is just because there's something to be said for fighting for your country. And I think that's what's going on here. You have all the best players essentially playing in it. There are some folks that have made a big stink about the insurance issues. And I think, look, if you're Team Puerto Rico, yeah, I mean, that's a big deal for them. But I don't think it puts a damper on the tournament at all. I think the best players are still in it. Unfortunately for Puerto Rico, they're probably not going to win because they've lost their best players. But every other team seems to have their squad together.
Can you add some clarity to kind of what was going on with all that insurance stuff? The why the no's were coming in, maybe more importantly?
I mean, look, there's some speculation on it, but the idea is basically this, is that teams and the players union are only going to insure you for a certain amount of money. The players who are getting a high dollar wage, if there is any concern that that player could potentially get hurt in this thing, inevitably it's going to come down to the World Baseball Classic paying the insurance or via the club. And I just simply think that's the deal here, is that there's several players that had some injury history, Kevin, and the teams don't want their players playing in it, and so pressure is put on the insurance companies essentially to say, don't do it. That would be my guess. I don't have any factual evidence for that, and no one will ever admit to that, but my guess is for a player like Jose Altuve, who has, I say what you want about him, and I understand as a Yankees fan you feel differently, but say what you want about the player. He's headed most likely to the Hall of Fame eventually. His buddy Carlos Beltran just got in. He's one of the best second basemen over the last 2 decades, and he'd love to play for Team Venezuela. But the Astros are like, if this guy gets hurt, he's like our key player. Nah, let's figure out a way that he doesn't end up playing in this. And so I saw that Bad Bunny was like trying to insure players. That's not going to work. It's just, I mean, is he going to insure players for the lifetime deal, for their entire deal? Some guy gets hurt, misses the rest of his career. Is he going to insure him for $150 million? No.
As far as the odds of this, Craig, and we'll get into some of the football stuff, the early off season, but just with USA, it's not like they're minus 400, but the gap between them and Japan and the DR, it's sizable. Do you feel like that's spot on, or maybe influenced by where they think the money is going to come in?
Well, I think it's because they now have Skubal and Skeens pitching at the top, and I think that's just way different from where Team USA was the last time around. But I would not be shocked to see another team win it. Japan, Venezuela, Dominican Republic. I think all of those teams are in play, but you have to make the U.S. that big a favorite because if you look at the schedule, and I have because I'm mapping out my life, there's a semifinal on a Saturday, a semifinal on a Sunday, and then the final on the Monday. So essentially they could set it up so where Skubal or Skeens pitch a semi, and then Skubal or Skeens pitches the final. And those other teams really don't have the ability to do that. They don't have those two strong pitchers like the U.S. does.
Sounds like quite the advantage. We're going to keep Craig Mish around, get his thoughts on some of the early NFL offseason. It's still Super Bowl week. Time to talk about that next right here on the... Cowboys. Like, they're competitive every year. They're going to win a Super Bowl? No, but at least at the beginning of the season, like, I have aspirations to make a playoff, maybe win the division and see what we can do. For the Raiders, every day, the minute you kick off week number 1, you are out of the playoff picture. You stink and can't perform. That's tough because you don't get a 20-year career as a defensive end typically in the NFL. So your time now is to strike. I have all the money. Now I want to win.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, we're joined by Craig Mish, does an excellent job on Newswire. Of course, also a big part of FST throughout the season. Craig, I want to go over to the football side of things. You know, we're not too far removed from the game. I'm curious what your biggest takeaway was from Seattle's pretty dominant victory over the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, what was funny was I was doing shows on Newswire, and I think it was I think Sam knows this too. like right after the AFC and NFC championship, I think I said on FSTN Newswire to remind me before we get to the Super Bowl to bet that a defensive team scores a touchdown, because like what is going on in the NFL? Like every single, and it ended up happening in the Super Bowl too. It was 8.5 to 1. Yeah, I mean, look, it was an anonymous Super Bowl. It didn't really have the star power that some of the others do. People would call me crazy for saying that it wouldn't shock me to see both of these teams not even make the playoffs. It's just the way the NFL is, going from one year to the next. You play a first place schedule, you generally don't win 13, 14 games. Yeah. So Seattle, obviously the dominant team. New England, for whatever reason, they just couldn't get their offense going at all. Obviously, Drake May didn't look good. I'm 52, so I've watched probably like 40 Super Bowls. There's definitely been worse Super Bowls, I will say that. But it was, I would say, in my bottom 5 all time, and I would say that the first half was probably my bottom 3 all time.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting, your point about neither team making the postseason, is that would have been a consensus opinion, right, going into this past season. And I don't think that's why it's something I don't want to be or sound disrespectful to the champs, but I'm legitimately surprised that they have opened as next year's Super Bowl favorites.
Me too.
I tend to believe that the books will take close to 0 bets on them at these prices, Craig.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't understand this one at all. Look, I mean, Josh Allen's never going to have a better opportunity than he had. The Bills, for the first time ever, to me, feel a little bit dysfunctional to fire McDermott and just bring Brady in. By the way, Brady did a great job at LSU and did a great job with Burrow, and I thought he should have stayed in Carolina, and I think he'll be fine, but what was the point of that? I really am still not sure. So, I would guess that Baltimore goes in a little bit of a different direction. I'm not really sure what Kansas City is. What is my analysis of all this, Kevin? Another wide open field for the Super Bowl next year. Count me in on thinking anybody can get to the Super Bowl. Anybody can win the Super Bowl. Like, is it that far-fetched, Kevin, to say? I'm not saying I'm picking them. Is it that far-fetched to say that the Giants don't represent the NFC next season? Like, think about that. Why not? Why not? And I think it's anybody's game right now to win. New England, who had them? Seattle, we thought they'd be good. They'd win 9-10 games. Who had them? Maybe the Giants win 12 games next season. Maybe so. Maybe, in the AFC, maybe it's one of those teams that didn't have a good year. Maybe the Colts end up winning 14 next year. So that's the way the NFL likes it. Parity rules the league. And we'll be right back with it next year, I think, again. There's no Brady in the league anymore. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with the premise, right? Like, I think Minnesota is interesting. Did get rid of, can they go hunt a different quarterback now that they got rid of Mensah? Have they kind of afforded themselves that opportunity? I will say, just because you mentioned the Giants, Craig, I think because there has been some dysfunction since they got into the Harbaugh business that I feel is not supposed to happen the second they got into the Harbaugh business. Like, there being clearly no backup plan to Todd Monken getting a head coaching job, and them hiring Matt Nagy and all of their reporters being like, we get you're not happy about it, but it's what it is. Like, it's a rough start.
Yeah, and look, Cleveland too, in the same situation. Like, Jim Schwartz did a great job with the defense, and then they bring in Todd Monken to run the team. No, look, it's a very, very difficult league to run next year. Yes, there's probably 4 or 5 teams that you can peg and say, like, the Raiders are not going to win the Super Bowl. I think the Dolphins are headed to a rebuild. They're not going to win. Maybe Arizona. But you could make a case, and no one would laugh at you anymore, that 20 teams could get to the Super Bowl, Kevin. And you couldn't have said that several years ago.
I know that one of the guys behind the scenes would actually like to make the case for the Vegas Raiders, but maybe we'll do that another time. Craig, we really, really appreciate it. Best of luck getting ready for the baseball season.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. We'll talk again soon.
Great stuff there from Craig Mish. Again, make sure you check out Newswire right here on SportsGrid. We did, to really grab that segment all together. I know one of them who wanted to place a bet on the Raiders, and another one who actually wanted to, I think, did place a bet on the Giants. So, I mean, it's all kind of there for the taking.
Dallas Cowboys. Like, they're competitive every year. They're going to win a Super Bowl? No, but at least at the beginning of the season, like, I have aspirations to make a playoff, maybe win the division and see what we can do. For the Raiders, every day, the minute you kick off week number 1, you are out of the playoff picture. You stink and can't perform. That's tough because you don't get a 20-year career as a defensive end typically in the NFL. So your time now is to strike. I have all the money. Now I want to win.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're live on SportsGrid. We're about to be live in Vermont, Binghamton. We've got the Vermont team total over 74.5. So that's how we start the college basketball card. Someone who could probably help us start off really any card you want is Kyle Soppe from PFSN. Joined us throughout the week for Super Bowl 60. Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, a pretty good Super Bowl for you, right?
Yeah, we held our own. I was there to watch it live. We had the biggest play was Kenneth Walker under first quarter rushing yards, and he had a 10-yard rush 7 seconds into the game. Wasn't feeling great in the building, but we got home. Profitable Super Bowl. We'll take it and move on.
It is remarkable for that to come in, and then he wins Super Bowl MVP.
MVP, yeah, with 170 yards or whatever.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that. So, Kyle, there's a bunch of different places we can go, but I actually want to go just to Pebble Beach first, because we kind of started this show not really where I expected, but right before we went live, we all kind of noticed that Scotty was around 30 or 40 to 1 to win this tournament. And it takes a lot to get a Scotty number like that available. And I almost wouldn't have thought there was anything within the realm of possibility that could get you a Scotty number like that on a Thursday. So as we sit here what were your expectations, at least for Scotty going into this tournament, who is 3 to 1 to win this thing?
Yeah, I mean, come on. My expectations are the same as everybody else's. It's you pick around him and hope that he doesn't win. So, I don't have money on Scheffler. That wasn't a strong handicap on my part. It's just I don't like betting golfers at 3 to 1. And we saw this last week. He struggled on day one. He comes back. He ends up one shot away from the playoffs. So I'm not counting him out. He's 10 back right now, and he played the easier course today than he will tomorrow. Am I getting invested now? No, I still think that's a big price to pay for somebody who's outside the top 60 right now on a no-cut event with some of the best in the world. But am I counting him out? No. I mean, he's probably as good as you're going to find in that 30 to 40 range. I've got Mav McNeely circled as a guy in that general range that I would touch right now. He's 5 under. He's a little more in the mix and showing a little bit more signs of life. But if you're counting Scheffler out on Thursday, you haven't been watching golf.
You know, the remarkable thing for Scotty, right, is usually all of even his live numbers feel terrible, right? Yeah. Where you're like, he's 9 back, he's 12 to 1. Like, that's why I was a little jarred. I was like, wow, okay, they said, this isn't for him. He's now minus 110 for a top 20. And even that, it's like, is that a good number? I don't know, but it's minus $850 before the tournament, like, because it's a no-cut event, Kyle, can you just make the case that he's Scotty, if that's his price with 3 rounds left, it's worth looking at?
Yeah, the top 20 number is a little bit more interesting to me. The 10 shots back isn't as concerning as it is the 61 guys he has to jump. You know, like
right.
If he was 40th and 10 back, I could talk myself into it. 61 guys to jump, and this isn't one of those Joe Schmo events. This is one with the top, 18 of the top 20 or whatever it is, players in the world at this event. You've got Rory well ahead of him. You've got Decky well ahead of him. You've got a lot of those big names well ahead of him. And in theory, he played the easier course today. So this discrepancy might not iron itself out until the weekend. Then you're talking 36 holes, and if he's got to make up 10 strokes in 36 holes, I don't care how good Scotty Scheffler is. That's a lot to ask.
Who did you play in this tournament pre-flop?
Pre-flop, I went Tommy Fleetwood, somewhat top of the board, but whenever Scotty's in there, like Tommy was the third favorite. He was 28-1. Like, you get a nice discount anytime Scotty's in the field. He's half that now. He's 5 back. He left some strokes out there, a couple of bogeys, but he gets the easier course tomorrow. I'm hoping to get within 2 or 3 strokes of the lead and let the shots fall where they may over the weekend. We could be looking at weather, and anytime you get weather, you get the wind, you get the rain. These European players that play in this stuff far more often than the American-based golfers do tend to have an advantage. So if I can get Tommy within a field goal or so going into the weekend, I'm not crying about it.
And that is the remarkable thing, again, just kind of with all, not to make everything about Scotty, but to be honest, most things in the PGA Tour right now are about Scotty. Tommy's 22, right? But you feel so good about it now, even if you're only beating the number a little bit before the tournament. You're like, all right, Scotty's gone. Like, Keegan Bradley's the favorite. With respect to Keegan Bradley, a totally fine golfer. It's like, all right, we can catch that, right? Like, no worries there whatsoever. Can I ask you quickly, Kyle, and I might shift off the golf, what you've made of this run that Chris Gotterup is on? Because sometimes you just got to play the hot hand. I mean, he's the second favorite right now.
Yeah, and who could blame him? I don't know if you were watching or tracking along today. 6 in a row to start. After 2 wins in his first 4 events, I wrote up the article, and I put Chris Gotterup on pace for double-digit wins, and I didn't believe it, but, mathematically you win 2 out of 4. That's what you're on pace for. I mean, he is cruising right now. You can't bet against him. I'm not betting against him and betting on him are 2 very different things to me. I'm not taking him. I'm not taking Keegan. Right now, I'm not taking anybody at the top of the board. I don't really buy Sam Burns is up there. He was putting his behind off today. I don't see that sustaining for 4 rounds. Ryo Hitsatsune has been better of late. He's a good golfer. He's still young, and 10 under isn't happening again. I think there's a lot to be decided at this event here. And you still got, like you mentioned, you still got Scotty's number dragging down some of these outright. So if you want to get in on a McNeely, on a Fleetwood, it's not a bad asking price right now because of the, how crowded it is at the top, and you've got some of the big guys dragging the prices down.
All right, awesome. Let me shift over to the NBA, Kyle, before we let you get out of here. It's a 3-game card tonight. Are you involved at the beginning of it, where we have this Oklahoma City and Milwaukee game?
I'm not touching that game. I'm going to Utah, as crazy as that sounds. They're not playing to win anymore. I know. Betting on Utah feels like throwing money away, but if you're going to back, I'm not back. I'm playing the total. I'm going over 234.5 in that game. You've got 2 top 7 pace teams. And Utah, listen, they don't want to win the game. Jaren Jackson's out for the year. Everything they're doing says they want to lose. You know what you want to lose? When you want to lose, you put guys that only care about the offensive side of the ball on the court. If they score 120 points and give up $150, I am printing money, even though they don't cover the 6.5. So I'm going to play the over 234.5 in this game with Portland, thinking both teams can get up and down a little bit. Both teams are on the second night of a back-to-back, so you got some tired legs. And Bryce Sensabaugh, if you're looking for a prop, he's over 20 points is, coin toss, a little plus money. I went over 25 at better than 2.5 to 1. I think he can fill it up in buckets, and if this game follows the script that I'm thinking, and the losing team scores over 115, I think we're looking okay there.
I will say that if you want to lose offensive-only guys, that's all the Bulls have now after the trade deadline. If anybody's been paying attention to those games, it's just, I adore that team. They're so bad, but it's so good. Play Rob Dillingham all the minutes. It's such a ridiculous basketball team. Any love for you in this Lakers-Mavericks late-night showdown?
if I have to play it, which, it's one of 3 games, so I feel obligated to play it, I'm going the Dallas Mavericks under 114 team total points here. No Cooper Flag tonight. I just think that offense relies on him too much to do a little bit of everything. You remove him from here. Listen, the Lakers aren't a good defense, but they're playing without Ayton. They're playing without Luka. You slow it down a little bit here. You ride LeBron. You get a lower possession count. I mean, 114.5 points. That's a lot of points for a team that really, I don't want to say they're directionless on the offensive side of the ball without Cooper Flag, but they're not far from it. I could see them having one of those 18, 19, 20-point quarters. You stick one of those in there, getting to 100 points over the next 3 quarters is a tall ask.
Yeah, I was contemplating playing the under in that one as well, so I don't think it's a bad look at all. They don't guard anymore, Dallas. I feel like Jason Kidd doesn't want to be there whatsoever, so there's a little trepidation just with their games. Kyle, remind the people where they can catch your work, because I am sure, I have a feeling you will be involved with All-Star Weekend once those odds start popping up.
Oh, come on. Dunk contest, 3-point. We'll do it all. If you can bet on it, I certainly will. I'm at Kyle Soppe, PFN, on the Twitter machine there. That's SOPPE. I'll tweet live lines. You want to come at me and send anything you want me to handicap, I'd be happy to do it.
Man, excellent as always from Kyle. Kyle, we will do it again soon. We're going to take a quick break here on Game Time Decisions, talk a little bit more about the offerings from this college basketball slate, and figure out what they're betting in the back, because if they don't have a pick in just yet, something's wrong. Also, they have to clean the camera in the Vermont game. It's not great.
Cowboys. They're competitive every year. They're going to win a Super Bowl? No, but at least at the beginning of the season, I have aspirations to make a playoff, maybe win the division, and see what we can do. For the Raiders, every day, the minute you kick off week number 1, you are out of the playoff picture. You stink and can't perform. That's tough, because you don't get a 20-year career as a defensive end typically in the NFL. So your time now is to strike. I have all the money. Now I want to win.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So Gary Bettman wants the USA to win, because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those, like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers and control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much, as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, college basketball tonight is one of those that you just kind of say, I got to get in the mix, right? The Vermont, I'm telling you right now, it's on ESPN Plus. The Binghamton Vermont game the camera's not in focus. So that's the kind of games we're betting on tonight, and I love it. Vermont is the best offensive team in this conference. They hosted Binghamton earlier this year. They were a 20.5-point favorite. They won by 1. They only scored 60. I think it kind of gives us a lower number where they understand you can't drop an ugly one here, even on the road. So we played a Vermont team total over the number at 74.5. There are 3 other picks that I put up for the college board. I think they have a pick in the back, though, and it's like a secret pick. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So is there a pick that you gentlemen want to give to the people? All right, so we're going to go through my picks first. This is, we're figuring it out. Next up, I'm rolling with Hofstra on the money line. So this is, I will just say this, our guy, freezer burn bets, he likes Charleston in this game. It's remarkable we found a way to go head-to-head on a slate like this. But I think Hofstra is about to get on a bit of a run here in this conference. They've lost 5 games in league, all by single digits. The average loss is less than 4 a game. They barely got clipped by 2 against this Charleston team at home. And in that game, Charleston shot 17 more free throws and only won by 2. It was an outlier that shouldn't have happened. I think Hofstra is really starting to get it going, and I think that carries into tonight's game. I think they win it outright at -105. I play the Denver team total over. We've already talked about that here. It's a pick'em game. I lean to Denver and would play their money line. But if they win, they are almost assuredly getting through the team total. They average almost 91 points per game in wins. And sometimes you get into the middle of a conference season and a team has figured it out, and that could be this Denver team. They beat North Dakota State, the best team in the conference, on the road. And if you're like, oh, next spot could be sleepy, right? On the road at North Dakota, not good, demolished them, beat them by 19. So this is a Denver team who presents one of the best offenses in this league, a bad defense, up and down tempo. I think that Denver checks the box tonight, plays through a team total at 79.5. Then you get another one into the Big West. UC San Diego and UC Davis under the 150.5. It's a fascinating league. You have a handful of teams that are like top 10 in tempo, and then another handful of teams that are bottom 250 defensively. There are only 3 teams in the Big West who are top 100 on defense, but outside of the top 100 in pace, okay? And it's these 2 and UC Irvine. They each played UC Irvine. One of them was a jet under, nobody could score. The other for Davis, when they played Irvine, landed 149. These 2 teams have already played this year in a game that did get through this total, but there were 55 points in the first half and 99 in the second half. I just think the style or the type of opponents you typically see in the Big West have created a bit of value here on an under at 150.5. So that is how we are going to play it in the Big West tonight. Now, what does the Knucklehead Brigade have back there for the people? Robert Morris, first half, Cleveland State over the 72.5. I capped this game, funny enough. I did. It is one of the more, I thought, actually intriguing games from the horizon. Because Cleveland State started to get on a bit of a run and then got clipped by IUPUI, something along those lines, right? Robert Morris is the better team. Like the 3.5's a little bit light. I don't mind the total look whatsoever. I do not mind. 72 and a hook could very well be light. I cannot believe they got the graphic made for their producer play of the day. These guys are great, man. These guys are the best. They are. They really are. I am so lucky to have them. You cannot get better than that. There's a couple of halftime scores right now, but I'm not going to run through them. The games just are not worthy of me running through them. I'm going to be so honest with you. I do want to update, because we'll get to the NBA after this segment. Scotty birdied 18. So that moved him to 27-1. It gives you an idea of just how scared they are of taking Scotty bets. That Scotty can go from 40 to 27 just like that. He right now checks in a clean 10 shots off the lead, but I'll be so I see it almost as 9 shots, or even you could argue 8 shots off the lead, because Gotterup's the favorite at 9-1. Keegan Bradley is as well. Like, I know that might sound a little tricky, but I don't know if I care so much how far he is off of the lead as the favorite, if that makes sense. The top 20 number for Scotty is still at -110. So right now, the 27 best scores are 5 under or better. The 38 best scores are 4 under. But kind of Kyle alluded to it, if he played today on the easier of the courses, right, then, is now really the time to take a run at it. But he played at Pebble Beach. Maybe I don't know enough. Like maybe Spyglass is harder. That's interesting. I don't know. We may play a Scotty ticket before we get out of here. Let's circle over to the NBA, take a look at those 3 games tonight. After a quick break, we're live. It's Game Time Decision on Sports.
Cowboys. Like, they're competitive every year. They're going to win a Super Bowl? No, but at least at the beginning of the season, like, I have aspirations to make a playoff, maybe win the division and see what we can do. For the Raiders, every day, the minute you kick off week number 1, you are out of the playoff picture. You stink and can't perform. That's tough because you don't get a 20-year career as a defensive end typically in the NFL. So your time now is to strike. I have all the money. Now I want to win.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers and control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Some big news, actually, in the college football world was finalized within the last 5 or 10 minutes, which is that Trinidad Chambliss has been granted a 6th season of eligibility to return to Ole Miss. This is interesting. So apparently the NCAA has to appeal this if they would like. The judge came down, or the ruling came down from a Mississippi judge, but Chambliss gets to stay. Some of this Chambliss stuff's very bizarre because I feel as if people believe Chambliss could be like the second quarterback taken in April. And I feel like there is more money in that than the NIL money he is being promised from Ole Miss. Now, maybe he thinks the NIL money from Ole Miss plus another year of tape is all worth it. Like, maybe he just wants to keep playing college football, right? Maybe he feels like there's more to prove. I think it's a very, very interesting. It is just very interesting to me how badly Trinidad Chambliss wanted to go back to school. Because that was evident, right? That he wanted to go back to school. That's why you go through this whole process. I wonder what this does to the Ole Miss national championship market at the moment, 27-1. Admittedly, I do not know how much that's moved. He doesn't have a Heisman number. You want to play this game for a second? The favorite right now is C.J. Carr of Notre Dame. Want to just sit with that for a little bit? You want to just let that sit? So C.J. Carr of Notre Dame, the favorite. Arch Manning is plus 850 of Texas. You've got Josh Hoover checking in at the third best price right now, who transferred to Indiana at 10-1. Dante Moore back at Oregon, 12. Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin are 13-1. That Smith number feels so ridiculous. Mensa, Stockton, Sam Levitt are at 15. And then you get Sorsby at 22. I would think that, I mean, Trinidad Chambliss cannot be much further down. But some of these names, like, I don't know, I wouldn't think Marcel Reed would be 25 or Mateer would be 25. Where do we think Trinidad Chambliss lands in this Heisman Trophy market? Because what will the Ole Miss expectations be? Should we do this quickly? I'm very curious to see what that kind of projected 2026 football win, Ole Miss win total could be. So, home against Louisville, Charlotte, we're like the beat up Wofford, right? You think nothing of that. Miss State, meh. They go to Oklahoma State, or no, they go to Oklahoma, Texas, Vandy, and Florida. So, I mean, that's 2-2, could be 1-3. They host LSU, that's the big one. Mizzou, Auburn, Georgia, Miss State. I don't know. It feels like they top out at 9. Probably going to get like a 7.5 win total. Probably a 7.5 win total. So maybe the Chambliss number won't be very short. But I assume if the judge ruled it, he's likely to come back. Right? The thing that still just blows my mind is why Chambliss thinks it's so important to go back instead of going to the NFL. Like, does he have any information that the NFL isn't as high on him as people think the NFL will be? Because if not, it feels like he is fighting to accomplish something that might actually not be in his best interest, which is an odd one, but it seems to be what we have right now. So, quick little update. Trinidad Chambliss has been granted seemingly a 6th season of eligibility. We are going to go back to the NBA after the break right here live on SportsGrid.
Cowboys. Like, they're competitive every year. They're going to win a Super Bowl? No, but at least at the beginning of the season, like, I have aspirations to make a playoff, maybe win the division, and see what we can do. For the Raiders, every day, the minute you kick off week number 1, you are out of the playoff picture. You stink and can't perform. That's tough because you don't get a 20-year career as a defensive end typically in the NFL. So your time now is to strike. I have all the money. Now I want to win.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers and control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live on a Tuesday night. A college basketball slate where you got to fight through the mud a little bit to find yourself some good ones. We've got right now the matchup between Vermont and Binghamton tied at 24 apiece, which is not ideal as this is trending under. Vermont is once again struggling with Binghamton, but it's a long game. The matchup between Hofstra and Charleston is going to be getting underway. As well as the fellas team total or first half over in Robert Morris and Cleveland State. We have got ourselves 3 games on the NBA card tonight. It begins with Oklahoma City and Milwaukee. And as we approach the All-Star break, it's probably not a bad time to assess where OKC is in the NBA's futures market right now. You see this team at plus 125 to win the championship. They are almost, 1,000 less than every other team in the league other than Denver. Their price to win the Western Conference has been, minus the whole way, sitting right now at minus 145, minus 150. And yet, the Thunder are 42-13, and last year they finished 68-14. I don't think this team's only going to be losing one more game the rest of the way. Now, interestingly, they were 44-10 at the break last year, so with tonight they'd be a win off pace, but obviously having played more games, the 3 additional losses. But it shows that there is room, or there's a world where this team kind of can get downhill once again, as we early in the season really, really thought that they would. I still think one of the most difficult things to figure out with this OKC team, though, is who they are, because of how little health we've been given from them. When I say who they are, I don't mean do we know that they're great. We know they're great. What I don't think we know is is this NBA field open or not? Is this actually just a one-man show, and the health of this team is giving us some false hope that it's not? There's an old, I believe, Phil Jackson rule, 40-20, where the real contenders win 40 games before they lose their 20th. If there's only right now 4 teams that don't have 20 losses. Thunder, Spurs, Pistons, Celtics. And the Celtics would have to win 5 in a row in order to, I mean, they could, but it means we could end up kind of with a pile just of previous years telling us, hey, you actually don't even have that deep of a field. But we just keep telling ourselves, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Like, oh, wait till this team gets healthy. Wait till this team gets healthy. Well, what happens when OKC gets healthy, right? Jalen Williams has only played 26 games. Shea has been out for 2 weeks. Isaiah Hartenstein's only played 30 games. Caruso's missed 15 or so games. Maybe more than that, right? Like, it gives you really an idea that maybe this team is just going to separate again. The talk against that, though, kind of is last year's team was more of a regular season juggernaut than a postseason juggernaut. In the postseason, 2 of their 3 series, they were pushed to 7. And in the finals, I really don't care what anybody says. I fully believe the Pacers win that 7th game if Halliburton didn't get injured. Because OKC was only able to get to 130, and that Pacers team, whenever they had Halliburton rolling the way he was early, it almost didn't matter the setting. They were going to score $115, $120. So it's all to say, like, maybe this OKC team kind of has room to run a little bit and get better in the regular season, but maybe their postseason separation, not pedigree, they're the defending champs, but separation is still a legit question on the board, right? And it's why some people wonder, like, hey, do they just push in for Giannis, right? Do they just stack the deck and say, too bad? But really, I think all OKC needed to see play out in terms of the Giannis sweepstakes was just Giannis stay put, and that's exactly what happened. And then everyone can reassess that in the offseason. The Cam Thomas stuff's going to get interesting for Milwaukee. After getting waived by Brooklyn, he shows up with the Bucks, and in his second game scores 34 points in 25 minutes. There are going to be a lot of people looking to play Cam Thomas props. The efficiency comes and goes, obviously, for Cam Thomas, but the volume typically stays. I'm seeing a 17.5-point number. At some point, you would think he could work himself into this starting lineup because the team is, it's abysmal anyway, so why not? It's not a game I'm desperate to bet. Portland and Utah games, I may not bet a Utah Jazz game the rest of the season, quite frankly. It feels like betting preseason. You're entering into games where you do not know. Maybe you do know how many minutes guys are going to get, and it's just not many or not a realistic amount. Today they announced they were shutting down Jaren Jackson Jr. No surprise. The day the deal happened, I said they won't let him play 10 games this season for them. You can be like, listen, you don't get off-season surgery. You don't get surgery if you don't need surgery. Sure. Did he need surgery now? No. Don't be ridiculous. There's no reason for him to not get it now. Like, just don't. Let's not lie about this. There are some people out there who are lying about this. Oh, the Jazz in the fourth quarter just think it's important to get young guys reps. What? Come on, guys. We know what it is. And it's happening in February. It's fake games. When did Keontae George even get hurt? It says ankle. Okay. I guess. I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. It was cool watching him put together the season he was putting together. It doesn't matter. What's crazy with Utah is, like, it's not even going to really work. Like, maybe the lottery will break their way. But they've probably already created too much of a buffer to get to the bottom. Probably. They have 3 more wins than the team, at least 3 more wins than the teams that are bottom 5 in the NBA. I don't know if the Kings are going to win 18 games. The Wizards probably won't. A lot of sports books took these teams' win totals off the board. Like, we're not booking these fake teams anymore. I don't blame them. I don't. Lakers-Mavs is your closest semblance to something real, but it's like Cooper Flagg's injured, which again, it's like, is he? I am sure he is, but it's also like, they're running the kid a lot. They lose every game. Hey, you know what? Might as well give him an extended break. They're on an 8-game losing streak. What's the difference of 9? So a Lakers-Mavericks game, which is supposed to be about Flagg and Doncic, neither guy giving it a go. That's why got Rob Donaldson to come in to talk about Big West basketball. Because we're not talking about this junk.
So Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like, it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those, like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central. Only on SportsGrid.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers and control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay? Mm-hmm. The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Game time decisions, we call them the big guns on a night like this. It's Rob Donaldson who is out in these streets each and every night, Rob. It's the kind of card that I'm sure you're quite at home with.
Oh, yeah. I love me some mid-major hoops. I feel like a lot of people kind of avoid these types of slates from a betting standpoint, from a viewing standpoint. But I'll tell you right now, I've got 8 screens up. A lot of them are going to be multi-view, and it's all ESPN Plus, ESPNU, and I'm fine with that.
How many bullets are live right now? I mean, I know there's still a lot of games to come, but what's maybe the main game that you've got kind of circled in on right now?
Well, I think later on tonight, it's one of my favorite games of the entire season, and it's one of my favorite conferences as well, with the Missouri Valley Conference, because Northern Iowa is taking on Belmont, and not only is this kind of a brand matchup based on what Belmont did in the old OVC, but also what Northern Iowa has been over the last 2 decades with Ben Jacobson at the helm, and now it feels like Northern Iowa is playing their best ball. Belmont's actually the top of the conference, and it feels like a collision course that could really define the league. I think if you want a really great game to tune into, that's 100% one of the ones that I would. And I do like Northern Iowa to have a chance to win that outright, catching about 4.5 or 5.5 right now.
One thing that is really fun with some of these low-level conferences, mid-major conferences, is the disparity in styles, as you mentioned, Rob. Just within that Missouri Valley, when you're playing Northern Iowa, I mean, it's one of the slowest teams in all of college basketball. But occasionally, when those teams at the mid-major level can get it right, for those that don't realize, they actually right now have the 18th best defensive rating in all of college. And those things are opponent adjusted, just so everybody knows. How, when you look at this Missouri Valley, right, when you line these two teams up here, do they feel like the two best to potentially give this conference a shot at winning a tournament game?
I think there's some other teams in the mix that theoretically, if they got into the dance, could, but it's also about running the gauntlet of the Missouri Valley, Arch Madness Conference tournament itself as well, which some of those teams that I think could, in a 1-game off scenario, pull an upset. I don't think that some of those teams can actually run a 3-game or 2-game or 4-game gauntlet. And so that also comes into the equation. I will also say, when you're talking about, the mid-major ranks, injuries are so much more prevalent because, high majors can kind of reload with the guys who are sitting on the bench. They usually have the depth that came up, to the high major ranks from these mid majors. Well, the mid majors kind of have who they have. And kind of in Northern Iowa's case, they were playing slow, not because that was their distinct style. That was almost a necessity when they had 2 starters missing pretty much every other game in January. And so they've kind of settled into these advanced numbers based on good coaching, based on kind of necessity to win. But now I feel like we're actually seeing this team at their peak. And there's a lot of teams that kind of fit in that boat, I think, when you look across those mid-major levels.
Speaking of good coaching, obviously, McCollum over at Iowa now has done a nice job with that team. I know they took a tough one against Maryland, but I feel like that's going to make people like him only more in that next game against Purdue. Their his alma mater, if you will, or old team, I should say. Drake is playing UIC tonight in some MVC action. Do you like that one?
I love it as a game, and unfortunately, I think it's one of those ones where you fade the big brand, the big notable brand in that conference in Drake, because this is kind of a shell of itself team this year. I think Eric Henderson's a great coach. We've obviously seen what he could do at South Dakota State over the years, but if you're looking at this team in a vacuum, they're not playing good ball. Heck, they just lost to Valpo when they were leading the entire way. They collapsed late. This has kind of been the MO of this team, and I get it. It's a pick'em line. It's in Des Moines, Iowa. You want to be able to take the Drake Bulldogs here, but that's kind of reliant more on the brand, not the actual team, and for that reason, I'm actually taking UIC in that game.
Let's shift it over to the Summit, where we've got Kansas City and Oral Roberts. Man, 4-20 is a long season, Rob. 4-20 is a long season, but maybe a bright spot tonight.
Well, I'll tell you, when you got 2 teams, almost combined 50 games, and you only have 9 wins in total among those 50, it's not a great little matchup that we have here. At the same time, when there's a team that's laying 6.5 on either side, and is a more than a 2-to-1 dog on either side, it's one of those almost obligatory plays where you just say, listen, close your nose, close your eyes, jump in the pool, because there's no really discrepancy between these two. UMKC, the last time out, was actually catching a short line against South Dakota. Maybe that's kind of speaking to the analytics that are driving them up. Also, there's been some injuries for UMKC throughout the season that are now starting to kind of come back in the fold. I think it's 100% worth that little bit of a sprinkle. Don't make this a major bet, but take a shot at a 2-to-1 dog catching 6.5 buckets in this one here too.
All right, let's keep going through this card here, because at some point I do want to kind of zoom out still and talk a little bit about the futures market with Rob. Maybe we'll do that next segment. In the Sun Belt, it's Louisiana, it's Coastal Carolina. That's a football game. Like, I get it, they play basketball, but that's a football game, Rob. What do you like, though, in the basketball?
Yeah, and what I'll tell you is Louisiana, for those who don't know, is it was a big brand in this conference for a long time under Bob Marlin, and all of a sudden 2 years ago, a scandal kind of broke out as a weird like almost 10 games into the season firing, and it led to this weird little transition period. But Louisiana, they're playing some really better basketball. This is a team that actually has a lot of talent. Their head coach Aquinas is actually a guy who's coming over from the Baylor staff in previous years, and now it kind of feels like Louisiana's starting to find their groove on this win streak that they've been on. All of a sudden, I think we're catching really good value with a team that's playing good ball, but has an ugly looking win-loss record. And for that reason, anytime we can catch them in these types of spots, I really love it. And that's what I'm doing here tonight.
One more quickly, Rob, before the break, which basically will feel like betting Michigan State. Memphis, just because in brand recognition, against North Texas.
Yeah, and both brands this year, North Texas and Memphis, are just not playing good ball or all that kind of lines with their standards. At the same time, I think we're buying the dip on the much more talented team. I think North Texas is actually a shell of their former self, even to a higher degree than Memphis. And for that reason, I'm taking Memphis on a pick'em spot here, even on the road.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Rob, talk one more play on the card tonight, and then do a little zoom out, some of that futures market, top-level analysis right here on
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
GameTime decisions on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, we're joined by Rob Donaldson. Going through his college card tonight, Rob. One more pick here, which features UT Arlington. What do we like in this game?
Yeah, UT Arlington is a team that's kind of in a downhill spiral right now for no other reason than they've just been losing a lot of close games. And I think when you look at the WAC hierarchy and the WAC tournament, when it actually plays out, I think they're going to be right there to actually win the whole thing. And so right now, given this little spot that they've been in and this little rut that they've been in, I think every single opponent that they play until they actually win another game is going to be yielding some value. the fact that this is even a pick 'em right now, when a month ago they would have been laying 6.5, 7.5 points, I think is just kind of one of those buy the dip type of spots on a team that I think can be really, really good.
All right, so I want to ask you, Rob, about kind of the top of the market, right? We're going to have a lot of big games this weekend. We know that. And there's been a back and forth between Michigan and Arizona, really, at the very, very tippy top. Do you feel like those two teams are in a tier of their own, or maybe there are 2 or 3 others who could be in that same class?
You know, I do feel like those two specific teams are in a tier of their own. And heck, the way that Florida has been playing as of late, they might be starting to play themselves slowly into that kind of upcoming tier alongside them, despite not having the win-loss record to really kind of substantiate that. At the same time, like what we just saw with Michigan against Northwestern last night, where they were in a real dogfight for about 30 minutes of game action, I do feel like both these teams are actually beatable. Heck, we've seen BYU take Arizona down to the wire, and that was a BYU team, by the way, that's kind of gone through their own little bit of a rut in conference play this season. So I do think in the right spot, either team is gettable, but I think, and based on performance and merit so far, they are kind of in a tier of their own at the moment.
You know, what's really interesting is the defending champs are starting to put together some of these games, Rob, where it's just like, oh my gosh. And they're doing it on the defensive side of the basketball. Now, admittedly, this is who I bet preseason, so I might be, watching it through rose-colored glasses a little bit here. But I am wondering at what point the books really shift these Florida numbers, because we know they've got the pedigree, right? They've done it before, and some of these analytic numbers, and you knew it was going to move after yesterday. They have the 5th best defense in college basketball. Do you buy what you are seeing from this Florida team?
Yeah, because the whole thing with Florida coming into the year was, obviously we know that they lost the scoring guards and the guys who kind of, spearheaded that run from just the picturesque standpoint or the poster boy standpoint. But the front court stayed intact, and they had guys that I really thought were just great rim protectors, great scorers down low. They still had the depth in that area. And so it was just a question of whether or not the guards surrounding those guys could actually come into the fold and make a difference. And although offensively, we haven't necessarily seen, that crazy jump up to where last year's team was, defensively, to your point, they get after it. They're pesky in transition. They're getting steals outright, and the guys down low are handling business. So yeah, Florida is just as, is as dangerous, I would say, as anybody in the country in a 1-game off scenario. Are they the caliber of last year when they were just running through everybody? Maybe not, but having a ticket on them right now doesn't feel like the worst thing in the world.
No, it doesn't. And if some of the showings we've seen from Kentucky against that top 1% translates, the Florida number is going to move because they might beat that team by 50. Yeah. I hate to say it, but that's just kind of what we've seen from them, Rob. Can I ask you about another team, though, who's kind of right there at the top in Duke?
Sure.
I don't know if it's because of how high regard I hold last year's team, but I don't think they're anywhere near that group. I think this team is so much about Cam Boozer. Like, I think he deserves to be the level of player of the year favorite he is. I don't like the roster that much after him.
I'm tending to agree with you, and I think they're still a physical team defensively, which is carrying over from last year's squad, but you don't lose Cooper Flagg and get better, right? Unless you just have another Cooper Flagg, and they didn't really insert another Cooper Flagg. They inserted, a lot of other talented pieces, but I think to that point, this Duke team isn't as talented as last year's team, and we also still have to see the rim come off, or the glass ceiling come off of John Shire in terms of, can he win down the stretch? Yeah. Because they choked last year against Houston. That was an outright game they should have won. It didn't happen. Is that going to be the same case this year? That's the question.
Every single time, by the way, Knipple or Cooper score 25, I ask myself that question again and again and again. Rob, great as always. We've got Mike Blewett on deck.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay? The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
GameTime decisions. This will be good. That's a lie. This will be great. Mike Blewett's here. Absolutely crushed the in-game coverage of Super Bowl 60 between the Seahawks and the Patriots. I want to get Mike's thoughts on that game, certainly. But it's also the kind of night that I feel you can kind of count on Blewett to have one of these random college games on a TV somewhere. Right now, Mike, I'm tracking this Hofstra-Charleston game. Just found out Hofstra's got a kid named Biggie Patterson. Feels like we can't lose that bet all of a sudden. So I feel pretty great about that.
Feels like you'd be undefeated betting on Biggie Patterson.
So that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, he just scored a 9-foot jumper.
We don't like to talk about locks in such arrogant fashion.
Right.
But if we're laying hard-earned American dollars down on Biggie Patterson, it feels like a win already.
Yep. I mean, again, really impossible to find a disagreement with that. So, Mike, let's get to the Super Bowl here because, we're not that far removed. And I'm so curious for you, especially doing the in-game coverage. What was we'll talk about a number of things. What was your single biggest takeaway from the Seahawks' dominant win?
Sort of hard to pinpoint one thing. I would say second year in a row I've called the Super Bowl live for the grid. Hoping for a good game next year, folks. I promise one of these years will hit, but maybe not the other day. I do think, though, that I'm really impressed with Mike McDonald and how dominant his team was for the last 3 months of the season. I would say that the thing that was I thought the Seahawks' edge ended up coming to fruition. The Pats really couldn't block them, and they sent more blitzes, and they sent Witherspoon on more blitzes than they had for the entire year. And I think they found a hole in the Pats game. Will Campbell had a really rough game. The offensive line as a whole had a really rough game. And I think if I had to isolate one thing, defensively, it's how dominant they were up front. And clearly they did a great job of putting Kenneth Walker in a position to succeed.
Kenneth Walker, MVP, Mike, did that surprise you guys at all?
No. We talked about it a lot through the game. We were having fun with the Jason Myers MVP. Obviously, I love a kicker's bet. And that those odds actually got into territory. It's like, actually, it's not that long of a shot anymore. It's 12-0. He's the only one that's done anything offensive. He's got all 12 points in the entire game. If the game had ended, say, 15-0, is that actually a kicker MVP? But it didn't really surprise us. He had put up 93 yards in the first half. He was the only offensive player that could tout that he had done anything really productive. I know he didn't get in the end zone, and that that run that he busts, I don't know that it was a clear holding call, but the run that he busts that was a touchdown that was called back would have been a nice cherry on top. But I thought he was dominant. He caught a couple of passes. He was very creative in the run game. He broke a 30-yard run at one point, and he was the most consistent part of the game other than Jason Myers. The punters were actually both awesome. Dixon, I thought, had a fantastic game for the Seahawks. The couple of times that they were pinned deep in their own territory, he got them out of it. Their special teams was terrific all year, and I think it helped them again. Clearly, the kicking game was the big component there, but we talked about Kenneth Walker at least from halftime on.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. There was a moment where, Witherspoon felt viable. I think it was, it's interesting. I know last year, Mike, a lot of people were like, hey, it would be great if we can get the defense an MVP. But I think, Hurts had a game much bigger than that of Walker's. Forget Darnold. So that, felt obvious, where Walker not scoring, it felt like it was on the board for a defensive guy, but you didn't have a Cooper DeJean play, right? You didn't have something that felt like the exact turning point, this is over moment, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, the Julian Love interception effectively ends the game, but it wasn't a pick six. He didn't have a second interception. Remember, back in the Raiders-Bucks Super Bowl, that is off the top of my head, Super Bowl maybe 37. That is a game in which Dwight Smith of the Bucks had 2 pick sixes. 2. And he did not win the MVP. Dexter Jackson did. And Dexter Jackson also had 2 picks. And his picks were seen as the turning point of the game. Dwight Smith had a pick six on basically the very last play or the second to last play of the game. It was a meaningless throwaway touchdown. So the Bucks were so dominant in that game. Dexter Jackson's picks were seen to be the turning point. And Julian Love's a pick ends the game. He dropped one earlier in the game that hit off his face mask. But again, no touchdown, not a second turnover. And as you just said, maybe Witherspoon was even really the individual star of the defense. But Derek Hall forced had a couple of tackles for loss. He forced the big fumble. So overall, it's hard when there's so many players made plays on defense. It's hard to isolate one guy.
Yeah. So with Darnold, Mike, and look, you and I have had this friendly, back and forth for a few years around him. I do wonder, and I think we've talked about this before, but how long do you get to be like, hold on, we're not sure just yet? Because I feel like there was a couple of times where it's like, I think I got this one, Mike. I think we put the win in my bucket. But listen, you're going to battle with Mike Blewett. You got to realize there's going to be different rules of engagement here. My take on it was Darnold solidified himself as the franchise quarterback for Seattle. But that was my take before the Super Bowl win. The Super Bowl, honestly, especially that game, it changed nothing about my opinion, really. Is that unfair?
Isolating the game to say, this is kind of what I've been saying. He's good and he's got support from a lot of people, but he can be your starting quarterback, but he's not particularly special. That's not fair to him. Look what he did in the NFC Championship game. Look what he did in the other Rams game, which was really the catalyst win for them, that come from behind win, the Rashid Shaheed punt return and everything else that came with it. I think you have to take it in its totality, right? In the 2005 Super Bowl, we talked about this during the game. In the 2005 Super Bowl 40, that the Steelers beat the Seahawks, Roethlisberger was downright terrible in that game. 9 completions on the day out of 21. He threw a couple of interceptions, but that didn't put a bow on a terrible season, right? That's not his best game in his biggest game. He went on to great things in the NFL. He'll go to the Hall of Fame, and I'm not suggesting that for Sam Darnold right now, but I think there's also fair questions to ask about Sam long term, and I think the Kubiak-Darnold marriage was a really good one. It was what intrigued me about the team going into the year. I thought it could work. I did not think they were going to win the Super Bowl, but I thought that could work, and now he moves on. Mike McDonald, a younger head coach, does he have a network of offensive play callers that can work with Sam Darnold? I'm sure they pay a pretty penny to find that replacement, but so much of those musical chairs have already gone on, right? I'm rooting for Sam going forward. I hope he has another season next year like he did the last. I was always a believer, even when he was on his third or fourth or fifth team. I believed in him, and it's okay to say, well, I still don't think he's a top 5 quarterback because he hasn't proven that.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that, Mike, everything I thought he was going to really be able to prove to me, he proved in the NFC Championship game, right? He could have gone up maybe another level in the Super Bowl. He did not need to. But it puts him definitely in a different category. There's no doubt about that. We'll be right back here. Game Time Decisions. We're live on SportsGrid.
So Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever, right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay? The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh live with Mike Blewett. We're following some live action here on the college basketball board. The fellas in the back, Mike, are trying to root in a first-half team or a first-half over in Robert Morris, Cleveland State. And I think they just got there, 72 and a half. Looks like we've got 73 on the board with maybe a minute to spare.
I mean, if you want to talk Horizon League hoops for the next 20 minutes, we can do it. They just got a new commissioner named today. So it's a good day in the Horizon League. So I appreciate that the boys went that route, and kind of feels like a lock from where I sit, and it was.
It turns out so. So, Mike, I do want to go back to the Super Bowl, actually, because Drake May, it's an interesting one, right? He was bad in every playoff game after being awesome in the regular season. And we point to the defenses primarily as the reason why, and I think that's where I land. But there's now these injury questions going on, and I feel like some Patriots fans are like, yeah, the guy was hurt. But at that point, I don't really know how to, one, parse them taking him off the injury report, because that's just not allowed. Like, the injury report is not for machismo. It's for accuracy. I also don't know how to parse the shot that he was given to make him feel less pain was for the first half, and all of his best throws were in the fourth quarter, or late third to fourth quarter. Where do you land on the Drake May of it all?
Very questionable on the injury report stuff. Very. We'll see if there's any kind of penalty coming down. I'd imagine the NFL doesn't want to make a big thing of it. Yeah. But I understand he was probably hurt. I'd say a lot of players are banged up at the end of the year. And, Kev, he took 21 sacks in a month. That's a lot for anybody, especially at the end of the year. 5, and 6 sacks in his last 4 games. They were not helping him, not Will Campbell, not the rest of the offensive line. In Denver, he was finally able to start escaping some of that pressure and used his legs. Did it a little bit in the Super Bowl as well. Didn't get to my 7 rushes on the day, unfortunately, but he had another 5, had a 6th one called back due to a penalty. That being said, I think it's really questionable on the injury report. Could we point the finger at Seattle and say they weren't totally honest about injuries? I suppose, but we're always going to focus on the quarterback and his health, especially when stories start coming out about pain injections. Drake May's not the only guy that got a pain injection on Super Bowl Sunday. There's no way. But
right, it's a good point.
It means a lot when it's your throwing shoulder or the guy running the offense. In terms of you're saying, well, the pain injection didn't start working until the second half. Well, it didn't start working until the fourth quarter. The guy threw for more yards in a quarter than anybody in Super Bowl history. The fourth quarter, after they went down 19-0. The 27 for 43 and 295 and 2 touchdowns looks pretty good out of context. When you mix in the 2 interceptions and the way it happened, it makes a lot more sense how he got there. So I don't know how to parse it other than that it's very questionable, and I think it's going to get swept under the rug because they lost. But you're right. It has an impact, certainly on the people and the audience that we're talking to here.
But what's it right? Like, the reason I'm not too hung up on it is I saw him be bad in all the other games, and I saw him make good throws late. So I don't know how much it mattered. It feels like it mattered some, but I think the main thing that you said, it's actually not in the NFL's interest to make this a story. Like, hey, we're going to remove draft picks from the Patriots because they lied on the Super Bowl injury report. That is actually not a good story, believe it or not. So, Mike, as we kind of get ready for the offseason now, the story that kind of goes hand in hand is Kubiak to the Raiders. And there's a lot of eyes on Mendoza. We expect to be the first overall pick. But in between is seemingly going to be a Max Crosby decision. Do you have any early expectations on Max Crosby here?
Now, the Raiders have been involved in something like this before, right?
Yeah.
There was a Khalil Mack sweepstakes and lots of draft picks exchanging hands. And Max Crosby, as good as he is, I think the thing that not everybody would realize, clearly NFL sickos like us know this, but the percentage of plays that he plays is amongst the highest in the league, especially at that position, especially with his production. Guy barely comes off the field. That's why at the end of the year, there was a little bit of a tiff between, hey, I don't want to be shut down for the last 2 games. I play all the time. And I recognize that, but sometimes you have to save him from himself. It's about time he got some plays off, and it turned out to be whole games. But my ultimate answer is, what is your backup plan when you allow somebody like that, when you trade somebody like that, or allow somebody like that to walk? I know that's not going to happen for him, but what is your backup plan? You would have to scour the earth to find someone. He's one of 3 to 5 people on the planet that can do that. And you're just going to trade him when you have a young QB that's actually affordable relative to the marketplace in terms of QBs and salary cap? I would find that hard to believe, but they got a long way to go, man. The Chiefs may not be dead yet. And you got Denver that was the 1 seed, and the Chargers had a bad season and they won 11 games. So they got a long way to go. And I think jettisoning players like that might not make sense, but this is a 3-year plan at least.
What I struggle with so much, and we'll close it out with best bets and everything with Mike on the other side, is trading Crosby and getting the return could be good, but he is one of the few guys who do feel like you just want to have around. Like, if you're the Raiders and that guy doesn't want to leave, maybe you should take him up on that desire. We'll be right back to your Game Time Decisions.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like, it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those, like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
They're just unblemished everywhere. They dominate you defensively, and they have offensive balance. They force turnovers, they control the glass. Let's put it to you like this. UConn isn't just undefeated. They're a tyrant over the women's basketball landscape. March won't expose them much as they will confirm their invincibility.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay? The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh here to close it out on a Thursday night before In-Game Live takes over. Should be a great night there. I know they've also added in some additional Olympics coverage, which Gabe has been absolutely crushing. We're here with Mike Blewett on this Thursday night, getting ready to send it off. Mike, the Winter Olympics have been catching your attention yet?
Love it. I love the Olympics. Really, watching different stuff every day, every night. I watch both hockey games earlier. So Canada, U.S. both dominant in opening night wins for them. So I got some curling, a little ice dancing last night. Not always the top of my list, but I watched it. When else am I going to watch it? I can watch it once every 4 years, so I watch it all.
Yeah. It's been on as well. We messed around a little bit with the hockey today. The one thing that's just, we're doing this show, it's a bit of a shame that we don't get to do some of these games throughout. But hey, listen, it gets people, in the office buzzing. They're betting these games. I'm telling you right now, especially the men's hockey, there is a lot of interest. There's a ton of interest in this Vermont-Binghamton game. Mike, it's so up your alley. The first half, they didn't have the camera in focus, which was pretty impressive. Like, the wide shot was not doing great. Let me get a live odds on this team total to see how far the books think we are off. 71.5. I think I have 74.5. Not dead yet. Not dead yet there, Mike.
I mean, we're talking mid-major hoops. I'm your guy. I can't believe there's a Denver Pioneers bet on the board out of you. I love it. That's a game that I'm looking at. South Dakota State having an uncharacteristically bad season in conference. So I love this game, but I think I would go the other way. I know you're not saying Denver's going to, you're probably saying Denver's going to win with over on the point total, but I'd probably go with the road team on that one. But I'm going to go something a little out of the box here. We're going A10 hoops. St. Louis laying 18.5 on the road is a ton. How about the Ramblers, Loyola Chicago, to cover that 18.5?
Now we're talking, man. Now we're talking. There he goes. Mike blew it. You knew he was going to give the people something. Now, do we have any bonus plays from the boys in the back as they hit their first half team total? Because I know that they're going to be pretty... Okay. Well, you know what, Mike? Would you believe they tried to just tell me in my ear they would like to give out one of my own bets to the other side? These aren't good people, Mike. These aren't good people I deal with. I'd like that on the record.
Well, to be fair, they were 1-0. You're trying to force them to throw the money right back in.
Yeah.
So why don't you just let them walk away with their cash?
All right, listen, certainly something to that. I'm not gonna say there isn't, but also this is what they do and it's who they are. And I'd like them to be true to themselves. Also, no surprise here, folks. Biggie Patterson and Hofstra up 7 at the break. So, there wasn't much doubt around what that talent. He's got 6 and 6 in 15 minutes, so pacing for a double-double. Again, no surprise really on that. The NBA late night is where you'll find best bets for both Sam and AJ. AJ's on the Lakers. Sam with a LeBron James double-double at plus 125. I mean, the only question for me, Mike, is where's the triple-double play? You got to assume that ticket's somewhere in the till as well.
I know normally when I'm talking to you and there's a LeBron bet on the board, I'd have to think it would be coming from you.
Yep.
But I appreciate that you've had an influence on the staffers, the guys that really make the show run, make you look and sound as good as you do.
Right.
So it's rubbing off. And look at this, Freeze just jumping in. Mr. Freeze jumping in with Yarnell. It's a Lakers show tonight. Look at you. You've influenced everyone.
I didn't even do that. I actually kind of like the under in the game. Maybe we could 3-man weave it. I mean, also did any of Chris's JMU or Murray State picks get off the board just yet? I haven't heard anything about them. Murray State's up a gazillion. All right, are we gonna live in a world? And JMU's up 8.
JMU,
Sharp,
alma mater of Mrs. Blewett. So shout out to the Dukes.
Wow. You know what? That feels like a lock now even more than before. Mike Blewett, awesome as always. We've got In-Game Live next on SportsGrid, so keep it right here.